Welcome to Turtle WoW News with Vrograg. I'm your news anchor orc, Vrograg Fishlayer, here to bring you all the server news for the week of October 31st, 2023. I wish you all the happiest of Halloweens, and in that spirit, I'm broadcasting from one of the spookiest places in Azeroth, Duskwood, where ghosts, ghouls, and all manner of creepy things can pop up. We have a lot to cover today. A new server launch, mid-patch item changes, and 3 whole changelogs. So let's get right to it. I'm the Orc, and here's the news. The top news story is the successful launch of Turtle WoW's first EU PvP realm known as Telebim. This last weekend, the new realm lit up with a rush of new players, lining up to be the first to claim all the glories that a new server has to offer. So far, the server is boasting a very even split of faction, a reported 51-49 split, with Horde slightly favored. While I don't have access to the server backend, management is claiming that their faction balance tools are working as intended, and early numbers do seem to confirm this. Jamie also reported early class representation on the 28th, showing a surprisingly balanced class split for a vanilla-style server. Congratulations are also in order to the Turtle team for having such a successful launch. Dealing with so many new accounts, players, and the myriad issues that come with server launches, it is no small feat. 5,000 players online at launch with strong server stability is nothing short of historic for the private server community. On behalf of the news network, we'd like to thank the team for their work and hope those taking time to watch this do so as well. In other top news, shortly before the launch of Telebim, there was an announcement made by Acalix. The original RP PvE server, where Turtle WoW all started, officially got a name, Nordrnar. The progression schedule for Telebim was made slightly slower, Phase 1 being 4 months, while Phase 2 and 3 are now scheduled to be 3 months. And finally, in the announcement was further acknowledgement that Hansi support is slated to be dropped following the SEA server's 1.17 patch update, since transfers from Nordrnar to SEA realms are difficult for players on 2 different versions of the game. Alright, that rounds out the top news for this week. Let's go over to the auction house to check in with Market Watch. Welcome to Market Watch, Turtle WoW's only in-depth market analysis. All of our data is powered by WoWauctions.net, who provide all the numbers you'll see here. We have 2 major market stories we've been watching. First, with the announcement from a recent changelog, Dream Shard farming is much easier in Hyjal and has substantially lowered the market price for those items. Whether these changes will remain is unclear, but it is an important factor for the big market investors in the Dream Shard sector. Second is a substantiated report about a wave of black market fishers who were caught and banned for fish botting recently. And this information was confirmed by community manager Acalix. The fish market is likely to have volatility since RMT gold farmers are no longer automating the process of fishing, which will lower supply. With that in mind, let's jump right into our main stocks. This week, starting with Stone Scale Ale. And wow, yeah, looks like the sudden departure of fish botters has dwindled supply and made prices skyrocket. In 2 weeks, Stone Scale trended up by 200%, from 40 silver to around 1 gold 20. It's no surprise that prices like these are historic. If you have 300 fishing and want to make some gold, now is the time to act. Arcane Crystals trended down recently, dropping nearly a full 10 gold before rebounding and settling in the low 30s. Though most recent uptick may be alarming, it does seem that the crystals are settling back down into August market prices once more. Black Lotus lost 30% of its value in the last 2 weeks, a stifling drop, likely in response to the healthier drop rate coming from high-level herbs announced last week. These prices are seeming like what they once were back in mid-August, and the bubble of late September and October is finally deflated. Cured Rugged Hide rallied recently, up 10% to around 20 gold, and even showed a massive spike on the 26th where it maxed out its value at 25 gold apiece. At this point in the stock's history, it is hard to say if the hide is price correcting following a giant October freefall, or if more price inflation might loom like in September. Grom's Blood slowly inched up a few percentage points since October 16th. A run on the herb on the 28th had it reaching 1.5 gold briefly. Historically, it has been on a slow, steady decline, but days like the 28th are showing that demand remains sky high. Large Brilliant Shards, which have been losing value of late, have finally shown a small turnaround in their value, increasing from 3 gold to 3.5 in 2 weeks. Though exact market forces are unknown, this rally might finally end the chapter of a steady decline started all the way back in late June. Mooncloth traded about even recently with some substantial volatility. With Dream Shards so readily on farm, it is interesting to see that the cloth's price has no great shift happening, meaning that there just might be a steady demand for this cooldown fabric. Now for the S&V7. The indexing of all 7 stocks followed here on Market Watch. There was a dip starting on the 16th that quickly rebounded and brought the S&V7 back to about where it started at 20.6. Despite modest losses on Arcane Crystals and Black Lotuses, the massive rally from Stone Scale and the more modest rally from Large Brilliant Shards was more than enough to make up for it. The market remains dynamic and active while the team does their work to regulate botters and help the supply side of the auction house. That concludes Market Watch for now. As always, we'd like to thank WoWauctions.net for powering all of our data collection. Make sure to go there for your own market research needs, which now feature a page for both Nordrenar and Telebim servers. Invest wisely and keep an eye on your coin. Let's throw it back to Vrograg with more news. There were a whopping 3 changelogs since we last broadcast, the main scheduled one for the 24th, a smaller midweek changelog posted on the 26th, and another substantial weekly changelog posted yesterday. Let's jump right in with the changelog roundup. Turtle WoW's new custom enchant called Vampirism has been fixed so that different pieces of gear that have the effect will now stack together. Coupled with a previous fix that prevents Vampirism from lagging out the client, this new gear ability looks to finally be off the ground and working as intended. The Greater Windstones of Silithus can now finally respawn. For reasons unknown, these monoliths required for the much desired raid quest, Dukes of the Council, would not respawn, and hopeful raiders would have to wait for GM intervention or a server reset. The problem persisted for well over a year, but as of the 24th, the problem has been resolved and now enjoys a nice respawn timer of 5 minutes. Much to the chagrin of the most bloodthirsty Horde members, citizens of Alathalas can no longer be skinned. Players who win rare or epic quality items on roll, but have a full inventory and don't manually loot items before the mob despawns, will now find them sent to their mailbox. This is a welcome quality of life upgrade from the previous system where players who won items with full bags could lose the item because it would default to free-for-all looting. In writing news, players can mount in the new Emerald Sanctum raid zone and, in a surprising break from tradition, also Booty Bay. Furthermore, the bizarre effect of the custom raid buff, known as Emerald's Blessing, will now no longer slow mounted speed. And finally, Thorium Spurs should actually increase mounted speed. Most recently in PvP changelog notes, the requirement for level 60 to turn in Blood Ring quest was removed, while Blood Ring matches had their reputation gain tuned down. Also of note was that yesterday's changelog stated that there were some corrections made to honor gains on the Telebim server. The Hyjal Zone and the precious Dream Shards gathered there had a rework on the 24th to make gathering these shards much less of a chore. Quest rewards that used to give small shards now give Bright Dream Shards. Quests that reward shards and require gathering now don't need the quest to be picked up to gather the items. The elite trolls of Hyjal as well as the mobs in Emerald Sanctum now should have better shard drop rates. And finally, as of yesterday, the quest Calling Wildlife should now be repeatable. With these fixes, hotly desired items locked away behind the requirement of hundreds of Dream Shards might be more readily attained. The largest changelog entry by far was released on the 24th, in what staff are calling the mid-patch itemization update. While it is tempting to go over all the adjustments made to existing legacy gear in the posts made by Dragonovi, the itemization team lead, I'll instead speak in broader strokes about the changes being made. All of the Tier 0.5 or Dungeon tier sets received largely stat buffs to, as Dragonovi put it, make them more worthwhile to acquire. While some of the buffs certainly do make them more desirable for players, the only two sets that received major reworks were the 5 Thunders and the Feral Heart set, or the Shaman and the Druid set respectively. The Shaman set had all of its strength and agility removed, and instead, Intellect, Spell Power, Spell Hit, and MP5 was added to largely make it an elemental-focused affair, though the set bonuses remained unchanged. Meanwhile, the Feral Heart set received a name change to now be called the Moonheart set. Nothing but the name has changed, but seemingly that is because the set bonus is going to be changed at a later date. The plans laid out in the post, much like the 5 Thunder set, aim to have its strength and agility removed to make space for caster-oriented stats. The only class to have their Tier 1 or Tier 2 adjustments was Mages, who broadly will benefit from the alterations made to both the Arcanist and the Netherwind set. The last far-reaching alterations made to class sets was those found in the AQ20 sets, which for each class offers a cloak, ring, and a main hand weapon. According to the post, all the set's items bonuses were increased, and some small adjustments were made to existing items to make them more worth the trip all the way out to the ruins of Anchorage. Of course, there are many more alterations, most minor, some major on lesser known gear or sets. We'll leave a link in the video description for you to read at your leisure. Make sure to check it out. That is all the time we have for the changelog. Let's go to wrap things up for the news. Thanks for tuning into this week's broadcast. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the content. I plan to stream this Saturday with a weekly fish and chat here on the channel, live at noon East Coast Standard Time. Remember, you can always ask me any questions you may have, be they news related or not, while I'm streaming, in-game, or on any of my socials I list in the description of the video. For now though, I need to be going. I still have to trick-or-treat a few more times to try and get more costume wands. I wish you all the best in all your endeavors. Stay safe, happy Halloween, and remember, knowledge is the deadliest weapon.